Hi everyone, welcome to the Santa Cruz Financial Academy. This is a program that will educate the participant on the wonderful world of finance. Throughout our lives, we are taught many valuable lessons. Unfortunately, for most of us, these lessons don't include how to understand our money, our credit cards, financing big expenses throughout our lives, and how to plan our lives in a financially savvy manner. There's a lot of pride in working on ourselves to become a better husband, a better wife, a better father, a better mother. But when it comes to studying the inner workings of our wallet, oftentimes there's a feeling of guilt, shame, or even a bit of wasted time. So give yourself a pat on the back for showing up today and taking the time to study finances and prepare for the future of you, your family, and your loved ones. When I first got introduced to financial growth, somebody handed me a self-help guide to financial literacy. This book was titled Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's a great book, an eye-opener, and it really changed my life. The funny thing is when I read this book, I read it in my bedroom with the doors closed and I didn't talk about it. Probably because I was so fascinated by what I was learning and the subject matter of the book. These were subjects that my family didn't talk about. And there was kind of a lot of guilt and shame in taking interest in such matters. And in my circle of friends, we didn't really talk about this stuff either. Not that there was any shame in trying to make money or lots of it. It was just, why spend the time thinking about it in such detail with so much enthusiasm? Why not spend our lives searching for spirit, searching for purpose, creating art, creating music? These are the people that I associate with, creative types. And so there wasn't a lot of conversation about how to manage finances there either. And so in my search for wealth creation and riches, I came across the answer to this social dilemma, or at least one that kind of resonated with me. What I found is true value is not monetary, and money itself is very bureaucratic and tedious. In fact, planning a budget is a lot less fun than weeding the garden. And shopping through retirement plans and comparing your options is definitely not as exciting as shopping for a new truck. And so here we are, the few of us that have the nerve to face this issue of finances and the requirement of cash upon this life. So let's just jump into it here. When it comes to growing and preserving wealth, there's two factors that come into play. The first one is how to make money, and the second one is how to keep it. So financial advisors don't show people how to make a higher income. They simply guide their clients on how to manage what they have and how to stretch their dollars a little bit further and prepare for financial stability. And so in this program, we will be talking about very real issues and solutions to personal finance that are entirely built upon your ability to produce income. And what we find is how you make money is entirely up to you. There is no secret to how you make money, just that you have to do it somehow. The truth of economics is this. Whether you're a real estate investor or a busboy at the local diner, one fact remains the same. Your ability to produce an income is directly linked to your ability to create an economic impact on your community. The truth is that the way that you make money with your own two hands is entirely up to you and is entirely, unique to every individual on what their interests are and what they're passionate about and what it is that they want to bring to their community. For this reason, you're not going to hear me teach you about how to quit your job and take on a new skill, such as make millions in real estate, or find financial freedom in trading stocks, or quit digging ditches and become a welder. In my experience, anybody who's telling you that they have the secret to becoming rich overnight with a lack of effort is really overselling you information and selling you a pipe dream. And by the way, I have a lot of experience being oversold information. And it's only through strong resilience that I've been able to swim through an ocean full of sharks to bring you this message and this information that I have found to be most useful. What I have found is this. Once you start to understand yourself as a cash flow stream, you will start to become aware of the most fundamental business practices, financial concepts, and how the economy works and how this world works around us. Instead of looking for that next money-making endeavor, you'll start to see your contemporary situation right now, the foundation upon which your dreams are to be built. Another thing that will start to happen as you start to become more savvy in your money management is that you will realize how much money you're losing to the system. The average American pays 30% of their income in taxes, and another 30% of their money goes to interest to the creditors. So all in all, we pretty much keep less than half the money that we actually earn. And so this is where the game is played, in how to hold on, how to keep the money that you actually create. Now in the street, the game is all about your hustle and how much money you earn. But in the world of real wealth, it's all about how to hold on to that which you create. This program is really about how to recapture your losses and optimize your current financial profile. In learning about how to hold on to your money, you will naturally grow an understanding about how money moves through this world and how to move more of it back into your pockets. As an introduction into this program, I want to talk to you about the evolution of our stash. Now, as kids, we usually have some place where we keep cash and coins that we somehow collect, find on the ground, or maybe do chores around the house. We have some sort of little stash where we keep our money. I actually had a little ceramic pig. I literally had a piggy bank, and it had a little hole in the butt, and you put your coins and your dollars in, and I loved it. Not only did I think it was the funniest thing ever, it held all my money. I remember as a young kid, my brother and I would go searching through the couch cushions, looking for little cash, little coins, whatever we could find. Naturally, we learned to do this when my dad wasn't around, because if he was there, he would have us give us back all the coins that fell out of his pockets. You know, as if digging through a dirty old couch through like bits of popcorn and bubble gum and stuff like that wasn't a laborious task. But anyway, there I was as a young kid, taking those first steps and building a little piggy bank, a little estate. And as a matter of fact, there's actually one characteristic of a piggy bank or money stashed in a mattress that is extremely beneficial that we kind of tend to forget about or let go of as we grow older. That aspect is called instant liquidity. You don't have to ask anybody for it. It's directly available. There's no penalty. There's no fee. You can take it out whenever you want. Now, on the downside, there's actually 3 factors that work against a piggy bank, and those are opportunity cost, inflation, and security risk. Now, keeping cash on hand is very important, but keeping your entire life savings in a piggy bank or in a mattress, that's really not the smartest way to go about things. With the obvious threat of theft or fire, it's pretty obvious that the most safe place for us to keep the majority of our money is in the bank, where it's insured by the FDIC in case the bank gets robbed or burns down to the ground. Whereas a mattress, all your money can get lost in a house fire, and then there you are. Now, opportunity cost is what happens when you park your money in one place when it could be in another place, earning a return or a higher return. It's kind of like FOMO for your money. So in a piggy bank, it's not earning anything. In a savings account, maybe you're earning 0.5% or 1% or 1.5% annually every year. The thing is money grows in value as it moves. And so when it's sitting in the bank, at least for you, it's not really moving. If it's sitting in your piggy bank, it's definitely not moving. Cash itself is stale. And so when you put it in an investment account where it's being put into the community, what's happening is it's moving and it's creating economic exchange and things are happening. And so you're going to generate a return because your money is being used in some sort of way to promote growth. And therefore, you're going to earn a return on that money. Money is in itself liquid opportunity. So when you have a whole bunch of it, you have the ability to create a bigger impact. You have that opportunity readily available. And so it's for that reason that people that have a lot of money have opportunity calling them on their phone, knocking on their door. Constantly, people are trying to take that money and use it in an opportunistic way to create some sort of economic movement and to create returns, to create growth. And so if all you do is stack cash just to sit on it, just to relish in it or sleep on it, you're kind of missing the point as to really what the purpose of money is and what it's used for in this world. Now, with that said, cash reserves play a huge role in financial institutions as well as our own personal financial profile. We use cash reserves to manage and mitigate risk, meaning, let's say we have cash reserves and then we have investments over here. If these investments take kind of a downturn, something happens there, and they need resources in order to fix a problem, we have cash reserves to solve that problem. If there's an economic downturn and something happens with our job, we have cash reserves in order to manage that risk. So cash reserves is very important, and it's going to play a big role in our financial profile in this estate or this empire that we're all trying to build. Having cash reserves also allows us easier access to more money. So when a financial institution is looking at us as somebody that wants to borrow money and they're going to lend money to us, if they see that we have significant cash reserves, they're going to say that this person is a pretty easy risk to take on. And because of that, we're going to have easier access to money and we're going to pay less for that money. Now, to kind of turn back to what we were talking about, opportunity cost describes what we're missing out on by taking an action or by not taking a specific action. And so let's talk about inflation. Inflation refers to the fact that our money is consistently dropping in value as time goes on. This is something that's always bothered me, as well as others, I am sure. Why is this something that happens? Why is it that our money drops in value as time goes on? I work so hard for it, and yet every year it goes down in value. Why is that? Well, it turns out that our economy is actually based on inflation. Inflation is a huge part of how our economy is structured and how it works. And understanding this is something that's really going to help us understand how to manage our wealth. I was lucky enough to attend a small meeting, a small interview with a woman named Janet Yellen. Now, she was the chair of the Federal Reserve under the Obama administration. And I saw her talking, and one thing that she said was there's nothing worse for a government than reverse inflation. And I'm sitting there, and I didn't understand inflation yet, and so it hit me once again. I'm like, what is going on here? How can that be? This is so frustrating. I just hate the fact that I work so hard to make something, and then it just works against me. It just goes down in value every year. If there was reverse inflation, that means my money would be increasing in value just by sitting in my mattress. Why isn't this? Why don't we operate like that? I was so confused. And as I'm looking around the room, everybody else is nodding their head like, yeah, there's nothing worse for the government or for anybody than reverse inflation. And I'm just going, man, what is going on here? And so I'm going on the internet and I'm researching about this, and I come across this article from NPR published on February 13th, 2019, talking about the national debt. And at that point in time, NPR, National Public Radio, stated that the nation's debt was somewhere around 22 trillion. So now kind of put that on the side for a second and let's talk about compounding interest, because this is how inflation works. So an asset that experiences compounding growth happens like this. The growth grows in itself as that base, as the value of the asset grows. Then the rate at which it grows also grows, because what's happening is it's growing at the same rate, but that rate is affecting now an ever increasing base amount. So let's take it some easy numbers here and show how compounding interest works. As you can see, the base value grows, and so does the amount that it grows each year. In this example, the first year earns a $10 return, the sixth year earns a $16 return. Compounding interest has the same effect on inflation in reverse. In fact, inflation means that the value of our dollars decreases every year at an ever-increasing rate. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the dollar experienced an average rate of inflation of about 1.79%. This has caused a cumulative change in about 19.4% over the past 10 years. So what that means is, in the past 10 years, the dollar has fallen nearly 20%. So if I borrowed $10 from you 10 years ago, and I paid you back $10 today, basically, you'd be getting shortchanged. So now let's think about the $22 trillion that our nation has in its national debt. Every year, our government's not only paying that down, but also devaluing it through inflation. As a matter of fact, over the past 10 years, it's gone down in value about 20%. 20% of $22 trillion is quite a substantial amount of money. So how would reverse inflation affect our nation's debt? As a matter of fact, how would reverse inflation affect a lot of things? Reverse inflation would have a huge impact on the entire exchange and trade system that we operate on every day. So now we begin to understand the game that is being played. Now we begin to understand why the Fed forces inflation upon our dollars. By devaluing the dollar, they can devalue the debt. And the same is true for personal debt, such as a mortgage. The debt we assume in order to pay for one of life's major expenses decreases as time progresses. And the same is true for personal debt, such as a mortgage. The money we borrow today is worth a little bit less tomorrow. And so if there was reverse inflation, that means that the debt that we're carrying right now would be increasing in value. That $22 trillion that the government's carrying in debt would increase in value, and by a lot. Because think about how much it's decreasing, it would be the flip of that. So if reverse inflation were to occur, every homeowner would experience an ever-increasing amount of debt. It would just continuously grow and grow and grow. Economies are strong when there's movement. Money trades hands, goods and services are exchanged. Leaders of economies know this, and because of this, they've created a game of hot potato. We all want to accumulate wealth, but the purpose of money is to be exchanged. And so reverse inflation would block exchange. It would hinder growth. It would hinder movement. So it would be counter to the purpose of money itself. The powers that be created this system, the system of money where money decreases in value, to promote exchange, to promote movement. And so understanding inflation is a key factor in understanding how to grow and preserve wealth. As a matter of fact, when we understand inflation, we can understand how to take on debt as a vehicle to grow wealth. And as a matter of fact, that's the game that a lot of big financial institutions are playing. It all kind of revolves around this exchange, this frequent exchange of funds and resources. So let's take a look at the financial plan that we will be discussing throughout this program. So first, we're going to look at the day-to-day spending habits that we have, cash flow strategies, credit strategies, and then the second one, we're going to look at building long-term growth, building an estate, building an empire. The first two modules of this program will give the participant an in-depth understanding of how to form a budget, how to manage expenses, how to stretch dollars, and really how to work with our credit resources in a very strategic way. We will form a budget in order to gain an understanding about how our money flows through us and where it goes every month. From there, we will be able to create a credit strategy, how to properly use our credit cards in an advantageous way, and how to incorporate a line of credit into our daily spending habits. And we're going to do this as a way to pay less in interest, carve out of that 30% that we end up giving away to our creditors in the form of interest payments. We will learn to operate our wallets in the same type of way, in the same capacity, with the same kind of thinking that big-time hedge fund managers use, that bankers use, that real financial professionals use in their everyday work environment. Of course, they use these principles because their sole purpose in their work is to grow pools of money. And so that's why we're going to be kind of taking some of these principles from their profession, and we're going to apply it to our everyday life and how we're living and how we're spending out our dollars. Then we're going to go and explore some long-term strategies, how to build an empire, how to build an estate. In particular, we're going to look at 4 different assets. We're going to look at real estate, we're going to look at our credit score, we're going to look at qualified retirement plans, because those are a big part of what our options are and what's out there today. And we're also going to look at something called the family banking system, or a personal banking system. Real estate is a great example of how people use debt as a vehicle to grow wealth. 4 factors are taken into consideration when an investor is calculating their returns on an investment property. So those 4, they look at appreciation, increase in equity, cash flow, and the tax benefit. And so debt actually has a positive effect on 3 out of 4 of those. And so we're going to look at those in the module that discusses real estate. Our credit score plays a major role in our ability to grow wealth, because that's a direct link to our ability to access funds that aren't currently ours. Our ability to borrow, and to borrow at a lower rate. That's what our credit score is all about, and it's going to open up opportunities for us throughout our life. And so we're going to take a look at how that entire system works and how it operates, and so it's not going to be so foreign to us after a while. As a matter of fact, through studying the credit system, we can kind of really take a look at the world of data science as this whole industry that's coming up that a lot of people are kind of unaware of. It's kind of one of these examples where studying money, you really start to understand how the world's working and how everything's going around and around and around. And this whole industry of software and technology is taking off in such a way. And when we start looking at certain things like the credit system, we start to understand the world that we live in and the economy of software and data science that's out there, which is really a contemporary issue to us in how our life is kind of operating these days. Because we hear things all the time about how Facebook has a data breach, or some of these other companies have these data breaches, and we don't quite understand really what's happening, what data is. And so when we look at the FICO system and the credit system, it's a great way to kind of understand at a deeper level this whole realm of data science and kind of what's happening. I mean, we're really going to be studying this in a way that affects our ability to borrow money, but it's so applicable to so much other things that are happening in the world these days that it's actually pretty exciting and pretty eye-opening stuff to look at. The other asset that we're going to look at is qualified retirement plans. We're going to look at these because they're offered to us pretty much anybody who's an employee of a company. There's going to be some sort of qualified retirement plan going on there. And this is pretty crucial in us and our understanding of how our long-term planning is and what the goals are that we're going to create, which plan is the most advantageous for us, the most strategic for us, and how we're really going to understand just exactly what's going on there. Building a personal or family banking system is something that's really, really cool. It's a strategy that's out there that I've come across that I actually find fascinating. This is a strategy that was based upon some of the richest families in the world, right? Like the Rothschilds. Yeah, they started their bank, a few hundred years ago. But really, this is a system that can be mirrored in everyday households across the United States, every country. Specifically, we're going to be looking at a strategy called the infinite banking concept. And this is something that was put together by a man named Nelson Nash, inspired once again by some of the wealthiest families in the world. And this is a family banking system, or what is also referred to in the industry as a personal vault. This is a strategy that's set up to not only build an estate and build generational wealth, but also finance expenses throughout one's life, many different sizes of expenses. This is a tool that was designed to build true independence, and I believe is going to play a major role in preserving the middle class. And I'm really happy that I came across it, and I'm really excited to share this particular strategy with you. We will be taking a pretty significant look at this strategy, but if you want to, Nash published a book called Becoming Your Own Banker, I believe, and it's on Amazon. You can get it, or Google Infinite Banking Concept, and you can get a lot of information out there. But this is really something that we're going to be discussing here in this program. So that wraps up the orientation for this program. I really hope you enjoy it. I am so looking forward to introducing to you all these concepts and helping you build your financial powerhouse. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into putting this program together for you, and from the bottom of my heart, I made this program to really help the people in my community. That's why this is called the Santa Cruz Financial Academy, because I live in Santa Cruz, I was raised in Santa Cruz. So much of my heart goes out to this community, and I wanted to bring something back here to share with everybody in this county. I do plan on taking it to other places, but really home is where the heart is. And so I'm so excited to share all this with you. I welcome you in with open arms, and so let's get started.